What's up? Hello. Welcome to Sammy and Creepy. If you are new here, my name is Sammy, and I want to tell you something creepy. That's really what this channel consisted of. So if that sounds good to you, or if that's something you'd be interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Since I recently did the video about the Appalachian Mountains, and yes, I do pronounce it Appalachian. It's how it's pronounced in the Georgia region, which is where a lot of my family is or has lived. That's how it's pronounced there, okay? I don't care. Pronounce it how you want. It doesn't, I literally don't care. Since I did make the video just talking about all the creatures and lore and all that stuff from the Appalachian Mountains, I thought that it would be fun to read some true Appalachian Trail horror stories. So I went to Reddit and I found some good ones. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. I'm gonna read you some Appalachian Trail horror stories from real people on Reddit. This one is called My Appalachian Trail Ghost Story, and it's in the Reddit forum, Reddit Appalachian Trail. And it's by user Red Bull Son of Rambo, and it's from 4 years ago, but still I'm gonna credit the person. So this is a real story that I experienced back in 2016. Let me lay out the background. I am in the South hiking the Appalachian Trail. I am unsure of the exact location. It was between Parisburg, Virginia and Johnson City, Tennessee. I tried doing some research and I couldn't find much information other than the Bell Witch. I have a video on that, actually, really creepy. And that is the opposite side of Tennessee. This has been tearing me apart for the last 4 years. So, I'm hiking along with my hiker buddy. It is a clear day and no sign of rain. Nothing but blue skies. We are pretty distant from any town or even road for that matter. The forest is clear of underbrush and nothing but bare trees. We could easily see beyond 300 yards. About 150 to 200 yards away, up on the hill, we both saw a brunette woman gazing off into the distance, not looking towards us. She was wearing a white gown, possibly a simple wedding dress. This is extremely odd for this area, so my pal and myself called out loudly to her, "Hey ma'am, are you lost?" The woman keeps her torso and shoulders still and jerks her head towards us. The speed and angle of her head turn should have broken her neck. She let out a sharp, ear-piercing scream, almost like a banshee from those old stories. We ran as fast as we could with our packs. As we were running away, the wind picks up heavily, nearly hurricane levels. Branches are snapping, and we even heard a tree fall in the distance. The rain started pouring, sideways rain, strong wind. I know the weather can change like a dime in the mountains, but this just felt different. Like we were cold, from 80 plus degrees to nearly 60 or less with wind chill that was constant. Other hikers were caught in the rain as well. They were as confused as we were with the unexplained change in weather. We couldn't tell them what we saw. We couldn't even explain it to each other. We both knew that we had saw her. We continued on the trail and never mentioned it. If any of you have heard of similar experiences in the area, please share. I want to try and identify this ghost or whatever it was. Could it have been some crazy prank and a weather coincidence? I don't know. I asked a couple of ghost story subreddits and they were mostly baffled. Hopefully some Appalachian Trail expertise and Appalachian lore could help out. So under this story, Reddit user Slightly Salty Chump posted, "I have a story. It happened this year between Hogpen Gap and Low Gap Shelter. I decided to do a day hike and parked at Hogpen Gap. I started my hike in the morning and it took me about 2.5 hours to get to the shelter. I stopped to take photos of flowers and mushrooms and the trail. I only saw about 3 people as it was a Wednesday. Got to the shelter and pulled out a snack from my backpack. Started slowly walking back to Hogpen while I'm checking out the scenery and eating my protein bar. I saw an owl up in a tree, took a photo, and then off I went. I heard a noise. I couldn't make out exactly what it was. An animal walking, people mumbling. I couldn't figure it out as it was off in the distance, but it didn't bother me. I just looked around maybe 10 minutes later and I heard it again. A tad bit closer. Again, I look around and see nothing. I got to a point on the trail where a huge rock overhangs a drop-off. I take about 2 steps past this spot and hear a noise right behind me. I quickly snap my head around as it took me by surprise. I see a dress hanging in the air, Where feet and a head should be, there is nothing. Just a dress, red and white with a checkerboard pattern. I can see through parts of this dress to the tree behind it. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I actually gasped out loud, and then it just shimmered and faded away. I turned around and started trekking. I was on edge for a good hour. I searched the web but never found any information on that spot. That is terrifying. That makes me think of The Conjuring. And it also makes me think that possibly someone unalived themselves there. So that's sad. Okay, let's see. This one is in the same forum, but just a different post. This one is by Reddit user Mountain Livin' 78. We lived on the mountain, down off in a big hole known as Smoky Holler, a small mining community up until the 70s. Our road was off the main community road. It led to one of the mines. My older brother, who was about 15 years old at the time, said he was walking home one day and passed a stranger who was coming from the direction of our house. A stranger on our road walking was unheard of. My brother said he was dressed all in black with a long black coat and hat. The part that stuck out to me was that he said the stranger was at least 7 feet tall. They didn't speak to one another, but my brother was afraid of him and he had a bad feeling. Fast forward 30 years, my brother and one of his friends drive down, it's blanked out, something ridge, and they go over the guardrail and side of the ridge. My brother is thrown out the windshield and lands in the woods and lays there until the ambulance showed up. His friend was still in the truck as it rolled and was killed. As my brother was laying there, he sees the 7-foot-tall stranger walking down the side of the road on top of the guardrail towards him. Just walking on the guardrail. He didn't say any more after that, whether he talked to the man or not, or whether the man came close to his friend in the truck. That sounds like the Hat Man. Oh, this one gives me chills. I just skimmed it like right now. Ghost story from Kentucky here. Decades ago, there was a mountain road on a place called Big Hill. It was the main thoroughfare to get from one county to another, and it wound down the mountain through dense tunnels of trees and long sloping curves. As the story goes, a woman was killed tragically, and when the culprit wanted to dispose of her body, he shoved her in an old dryer and pushed it over the edge, down into the woods off the hill. It wasn't unusual for people to dump their waste and unwanted here, so it would have been just another piece of junk left behind. After that, people started making reports of seeing a woman walking up and down the hill at night all alone in the dark tree-lined road. People started saying that you should never leave the window cracked when you're traveling Big Hill, because drivers have seen her on the side of the road and then suddenly her face in their rearview mirror. She would hitch a ride from the top to the bottom and then would be gone. They always said she was looking for the man who dumped her body, and if you didn't want her hitching a ride, to always have your windows up so she couldn't get in. Some years later, due to the traffic use on that road, they actually redid it entirely, blasted and removed trees, and actually ended up rerouting it entirely to make it better for semis. You can see the remnants of the old road off in the woods, and the few remnants where the old road looks like it crosses over where they built the new road. After they built the new road, there weren't any more reports of the woman on the hill. The superstition went away, and the talk of her chilled out. I think about that from time to time, and I imagine she's still there, walking the old forest road where time has forgotten it, just waiting to find the one who killed her. Wow, that was creepy. That gave me chills, literally. That gave me chills. Ooh, the Bell Witch. The Bell Witch was a local haunt in my hometown that is a story in its own right. But I have an old tale related to her. Growing up, I would walk to and from school, and I would cut through my neighbor's property to get there. Miss Ebby was her name. Sweet as pie with a voice smooth as butter. She was an empty nester, and I think all around a little lonely. Anyway, she and I got into this routine where I'd stop by her house every afternoon on my way home from school, and she'd usually feed me cornbread or biscuits or some sort of snack, and we would just hang out and chat on her big front porch. Well, one day I noticed all the doors were flung open and something just did not seem right. Walked into the house and her house was torn to pieces. I mean, all the cabinets were open. Everything pulled out, strewn all over the place. Honestly, I thought she'd been robbed. So I started yelling for her and I hear her hollering upstairs. Now keep in mind, she lived in an old antebellum mansion. This place was huge, and though I was there every day, I never made it past the kitchen. So I hear her yelling for me upstairs, and I run up this huge grand staircase and through the winding hallway, and I find her in her bedroom. She is distraught. She's yelling and wailing. I can't find it. I can't find the book. I ask her, what book? And she says, the spell book. I knew exactly what she meant at that point. Somewhere down her family lineage was relation to the Bell Witch, and somehow she had come into possession of one of her spell books. This was common knowledge to her close friends and loved ones. I remember looking at it once. She kept it locked up in a cupboard downstairs like it was a museum piece. She went on to tell me that she had opened up the book that day just because she was curious or something. She ran out to the grocery store, and when she came back, her house was in ruins, but the only thing that was missing was that damn spell book, never to be found again. She swore she was cursed because of losing that book. Oh, wow. That was an interesting story. Wow. Okay, I think we'll end it there. Let me know if you want like longer videos, like you want me to read more stories for a longer period of time. I don't know with people's attention spans these days if they still like longer videos or if you'd rather me keep it, under 15 minutes. You just let me know, okay? Because I can sit here and read these freaking stories for a while. I just saw one about a cult. I know that aside from like the paranormal stuff in the Appalachian Mountains, there are like feral people and allegedly cults and stuff, so maybe we could read some creepy stories about that. Either way, you guys let me know. I hope you enjoyed these stories. I hope it gave you all the creepy and Halloween vibes. I mean, look at my room. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things that YouTube wants you to do to let them know that you love my videos and want to see more of them. And don't forget to stay creepy.